Is this your first Women's March or no?
No, I've been to every one pretty much.
Nice. Here in Los Angeles?
No, I went to the original one in DC.
Oh, wow, nice.
And I actually invented the pussy hat, so that's why I went to DC.
You invented the pussy hat?
I did, yeah.
Wow.
Right, and I invented it right here in LA, but I did march in DC in 2017.
Amazing. What's your first name?
Krista, Krista.
Krista. Nice. Well, my name is Reed. Nice to meet you.
Reed.
Yeah.
Like a clarinet reed?
Reid.
Okay.
Yeah. Sweet. So, yeah, there's a sign over there. Any important topics people are they're not talking about that people should be more talking about? Any issues?
You know, I think something that's very nuanced that people don't talk about enough is women's pleasure.
Okay.
Like there's an old slogan, bread and roses, and that was a slogan for the women, for feminism, basically, where, we have our needs like bread, but we deserve roses too, basically.
Have our needs like bread, but deserve roses.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's like we shouldn't just have to survive. We should also be able to thrive.
Survival versus thrival. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice, sweet. Are we not getting enough roses these days, at least for women or some people?
I just think that, there's a certain, the hats are seen as very positive, even frivolous, but people don't understand that happiness and pleasure really make a movement sustainable. And I think there's this automatic, it's actually very patriarchal to sort of vault issues that are sad or tragic or angry over those that are, wistful or gentle or just for creating happiness, and yet everyone wants that, right?
Okay. Do you see the Pussy Hat and just Women's March, these types of movements as more positive, more pleasurable, and that makes it more sustainable?
I think the pleasure is radical, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
The pleasure is radical.
Yeah, because not only do we feel like we deserve rights, we deserve the chance to be happy. I think it's so, and the reason why I say it's nuanced is that it's so hidden. For example, women talk a lot about guilty pleasures, and a lot of things women happen to whether it's a reality show about matchmaking or drinking wine and staying in and doing a bubble bath, or shows that cater to women. It's that's a guilty pleasure. Whereas I don't hear men say I drank beer and watched Monday Night Football, I'm so bad, So it's really baked into the culture, which is why I don't think it's talked about politically, because it's this haze we're all in. And I call it the haze of patriarchy, because you can't touch it and you can't even see it sometimes, but we're all in it.
Yeah, patriarchy is related to culture. Does the culture influence the patriarchy? Is that how that works?
I think the patriarchy has infiltrated the culture, and
that's the causal thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these chicken and egg ways to do it, of course.
Okay.
But I think it starts small. When a woman is asked, let's say she's on a date and she is asked, where do you want to eat, or what movie do you want to watch, right? And if she's wanting to be helpful to the common decision, she might be I'm open to what others want, to what you want, and that's great. But it causes this chain reaction, for example, the Olympics, they show they'll show sports that men are more likely to watch, because women are more likely to go along with men, whereas men are less likely to go along with sports women like to watch. So these decisions have really huge ripple effects, to the point that we don't actually see on television women in power very much. And so when Hillary Clinton was running, what does that really mean when we've never seen that? Whereas we've seen The Apprentice,
Right, so the media has an effect on what people value. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I do. I'm a screenwriter. That's actually my main job, in addition to pussy hatting. So
cool. This interesting haze of patriarchy. I'd love to talk more about patriarchy. I've heard some things about it, but I'm still not sure too much about it.
Well,
is there a patriarchy in the U.S. today?
Oh,
and
yeah.
has it changed over time?
I think certainly things are changing. There's so many things I can do that my grandmother and my mother could not do,
Mm-hmm.
But, I think it's good to define patriarchy more because so many people think patriarchy is like women against men, and that's not the case at all. Patriarchy hurts everybody. And it's, like for me, patriarchy is the idea that there's only one right way of doing something.
Okay.
And so I think femininity and creativity are really the antidote to that. And I want to give an example too. Like when I say there's only one right way of doing something, this could like attack you in these micro moments. Like so women, like for example, for me, I remember I had to pay someone recently, a vendor, and I was really struggling because I was like, oh, I have to get my checkbook. I have to do it the quote unquote right way, the professional way, the way it's always been done. And I was really stressing. I had to order checks. I had to do this. And then it occurred to me, like, she wants to be paid. Like, I'm sure if I, like, Venmo her or Square Cash her, it'll be fine. And it was, But it was, like, my immediate reaction of like, is expected to be this way and I must be this way. And I purposely choose a very small example to show that it's every day in our lives, and men certainly have this feeling too.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to say that patriarchy is sort of like saying that there's only one right way of doing something and you're doing it wrong. So that's why the goalposts always change, particularly for women and people of color.
So there's this patriarchal, like cultural, like list of norms, social rules. Is that what it is? That's saying these are certain things you need to do.
Exactly. So patriarchy isn't like 500 white men running around telling like other people what to do. It's actually internalized. Like we have those voices in our heads, and that's why it's so hard to combat because we all have these voices in our heads. It's also why I wrote a book. It's called DIY Rules for a WTF World.
DIY Rules for a WTF
yeah.
World?
My dad was like, what does WTF mean? I was like, oh, well.
yeah.
Sometimes people say it means why the face,
yeah. I think I heard about this as well. It's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, that's sweet.
Actually, my friend is here, and she, her name is MILCK, MILCK.
Okay.
And she, so it's actually another thing people don't know is that an Asian American woman, Krista Suh, invented the pussy hat, and an Asian American woman, Connie Lim, aka MILCK, sang the anthem of the Women's March. Like her song went viral and became the unofficial anthem of the Women's March. So the sound and the look of the Women's March came from a group of people that, frankly, we were really not encouraged to be creative. We had to take huge strides to be where we are now, Okay. Like culturally, we were supposed to be doctors and investment bankers. I mean, literally, I was supposed to be a doctor and Connie was supposed to be an investment banker. And now we are like screenwriters, revolutionaries, singers. She signed with Atlantic. Her CD's coming out her new album's coming out next month. I slipped and said CD. They're not really CDs anymore, are
really
they?
CDs,
yeah.
Album. Okay, nice.
Can I pull her in to say hi?
Sure, I mean, yeah.
Connie, MILCK Music. Do you want to say hi real fast? Sure. I've been singing your praises.
So, Connie, hello, my name is Reed. Nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Reed.
R-E-I-D, Reed.
Oh,
R-E-I-D, yeah. So, it's very nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet
This is my first time at a women's march, and I have this
Oh,
hobby
so
where I
cool.
chat with people. I just go around to various places in LA.
That's so great. Your setup is very impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
We were
Very
really
impressed.
admiring it. Yes.
Appreciate
very
it.
Inspired
Yeah,
too.
totally mobile, and I'm streaming on Twitch as well. I hope that's okay.
Uh-huh.
And that's
Oh, no, let's shut this down. I'm just
Okay.
kidding.
So that was a new thing I just started streaming. So it's really, really cool.
Well, I have a theory that everyone is like a host or a guest, and the more we could become hosts, the better. And you're so being a beautiful host.
Yeah,
like you have a
yeah.
seat, and you have like clear information lined out. So I want to say I really appreciate that about you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sweet.
Do you want to sit down, Connie?
Sure.
Okay.
Talk about something.
Can you do a quick little thing? I think it's waiting.
Hi.
So hi, Connie. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So, Krista mentioned you did the anthem for the Women's March.
Yeah, it was the unofficial anthem. On the first year, someone filmed me and 25 strangers singing, and it went viral.
Your own personal song?
Yeah, it was my song of being. It was the intersection of being an Asian American woman, being a woman, being a survivor of sexual abuse, and it was I released it before the Women's March, like a few weeks, and it just felt like my reaction to the election. At that point, it was like this visceral need for me to voice my dissent at that point, because no matter what political parties people are, I didn't feel like it was right for a president who spoke so lowly of women to be rewarded the highest seat in our country. So I was like, well, I have to wake up and do work to express my dissent, because if I don't say anything, then how are people supposed to know that this doesn't feel right as a whole to the country? Yeah.
Gotcha. So you're just trying to get out there, make a positive change, writing music, and
totally
participating in public demonstration. Amazing.
Yeah.
Sweet. So I have a sign over there that says, like, what are people not talking about? What are some issues that are important that most people aren't talking about now?
Right. I go. This is sometimes a not popular topic, but I do feel like a lot of our issues stem from a really foundational sickness that is in humanity right now, and it's we view ourselves separate from nature, and we tend to succumb to greed. And so the culture that we've built, we worship wealth and we worship profit, and I think it happens in our day-to-day lives. There's not many things in nature that take more than it needs. So, for example, in our culture, we worship millionaires and billionaires. But what if we flipped the perspective and looked at, that's kind of interesting. Why would one person keep so many resources to him or herself? It feels like it's not. It feels like it's a fear-based strategy to like accumulate more and more for power. I think that there needs to be a deeper conversation going about like how we view ourselves with each other. Are we truly separate from each other? Are we truly separate from nature? And also, why more? Why do we need to collect so much more? And why are we worshiping wealth? Yeah.
Gotcha. So let me just repeat it back to make sure I'm hearing what you say. I think the value you're talking about is fairness, maybe, and harm. Some people have accumulated wealth through our culture that worships profit, and that causes inequality, unfairness.
Right.
This is bad. And if we could just shift the culture in some way, that would even the power a little bit more and make society better.
Right. Yeah, and it goes really deep. I think it comes from the simplest conversation to like, we belong to each other. Just that. Like, we're actually not like millions of different families. We're actually one family. And so we're actually one body, right? I view us as like a cellular organism. So if one part of our body is harmed, then the entire body is sick. And so our country is built on a lot of lies and harms, and so we need to start readdressing some of that.
Our country is built on some lies that cause harm.
Yeah, totally. Slavery, pushing out indigenous people. We're taking too many shortcuts in the effort of accumulating more and accumulating wealth.
Okay. Where should we be going as a society, and what's a good way to do that?
I think starting conversations, like I think it has to ripple from inside out. There's this saying, like, a man tried to change the world and the world was too big, so he tried to change a country was too big, so he tried to change the city. But it all comes back to the self. I think we have to be clear with our emotional and our spiritual motives as to why we're doing things, and I think that will ripple out with kindness. Like, really, if we stay present with ourselves, we'll understand, like, the people around us. Like, if we walk by someone who's homeless, who's asking for literal and maybe metaphorical change, maybe we stop and we listen and share stories. So I think it's actually much simpler than policy change at this point. Like, I think it needs to come internally as well.
So not so much top down, it's more bottom up.
Yeah.
Personal character
Inside
development, more kindness.
Right. And we'll think clearer, like, why are we obsessed with celebrities, or why are we striving for certain things that maybe don't truly fill us. Like maybe we're missing community, and I think a lot of answers are in self-healing, because then we become better community members.
Yeah, more community. Seems to be a lot of loneliness and suffering that way.
100%.
So more community, more kindness. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sweet. Any other issues you want to talk about?
No, I appreciate what you're doing.
All right. Well, thank you,
nice
Milk.
to meet you, Reed.
It's Connie. Thank you. Have a good
Yeah,
day.
you too.
Appreciate it.
Push this in.
Sure.
Keep it clean.
Yep.